The morning was unusually still. Nia Roberts laced up her worn black boots, the leather creaking softly in the silence of her small apartment. Sunlight filtered through the blinds, casting thin lines across her wooden floor. She sat at the edge of her couch, her breath steady, eyes distant. Outside, the city stirred to life. Car horns, sirens in the distance, the hum of a world that never really slept. Her hand hovered over the coffee table, fingers brushing past an old military ID. Cracked at the edges, the photo faded but the name still clear. Staff Sergeant Nia Roberts. She slid it into the drawer without a second thought. That chapter was over. At least, that's what she told herself every morning. Grabbing her hoodie, she stepped out into the chill, her dog Diesel trotting beside her. The pit bull was muscular but gentle, his brown eyes always alert. Together, they moved through the neighborhood. Rows of brick buildings, faded murals on the walls, the occasional nod from a neighbor. "Morning, Nia," called old Mr. Jenkins from his stoop, sipping coffee from a chipped mug. "Morning," she replied with a slight smile, the kind that didn't quite reach her eyes. Diesel barked softly at a passing cat, tugging at the leash. "Easy boy," she murmured, pulling him close. The park was quiet, just a few early joggers and an old woman feeding pigeons. Nia found her usual spot under a tree, letting Diesel sniff around while she leaned against the trunk, arms crossed. Her mind wandered, as it often did, to the past. Dusty streets in places people back home couldn't pronounce. Orders barked in tense whispers, blood that didn't wash off easily. She shook her head, pushing the memories back down. "Stay in the now," she whispered. As they walked back, she noticed a cruiser parked near the corner store. 2 officers inside, eyes scanning. One of them, Officer Brady, she recognized. Young, eager, the kind who still believed in the badge. The other, she didn't know. Older, stone-faced. Their eyes met briefly. Nia nodded. Brady nodded back. The older one didn't. Back in her apartment, she poured a bowl of water for Diesel and set her keys on the counter. The news played faintly from the TV. Another report about rising tensions in the city. Another name. Another headline. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She ignored it. Buzz. This time, she picked it up. "Nia," a voice said, low and urgent. "Who is this? You don't know me, but you're gonna need my help. Stay alert. They're coming." The line went dead. Her heart rate didn't change, but her mind sharpened. She looked around her apartment. Every detail suddenly a potential threat. She wasn't paranoid. She was trained. Later that evening, Nia walked Diesel again, this time taking a different route. The streets felt heavier, like eyes were on her. She passed a group of teenagers on the corner, laughing too loud. A car idled nearby, windows tinted. "Come on, boy," she said, tugging Diesel toward home. As she turned the corner, a black SUV pulled up fast, screeching to a stop. 2 men jumped out. Nia Roberts. One barked, badge flashing too quick. "What's this about?" she asked, stepping back. "You're under arrest. Assaulting a police officer. Come quietly." Her mind raced. What the hell? Assault? I haven't. Hands behind your back. Diesel growled, teeth bared. "Easy, Diesel," she warned, stepping in front of him. The older officer from the cruiser earlier appeared, face cold. This doesn't have to get messy. Her instinct screamed. This wasn't right, but she couldn't fight them. Not here. Not now. She slowly raised her hands, heart pounding, not from fear, but fury. They cuffed her roughly, slamming her against the SUV. A crowd started to gather. What did she do? She killed a cop. Voices murmured, cameras raised. "No," she said, voice low. "No, I didn't." But the story was already being written. The fluorescent lights in the precinct flickered, humming like a swarm of angry bees. Nia sat handcuffed to the steel chair, her jaw clenched, eyes steady on the one-way mirror. Her wrists throbbed, the cuffs too tight, but she made no sound. Across the table, a file sat unopened. They hadn't even started yet. The door creaked open. Officer Brady stepped in, not meeting her gaze. "Brady, what's this?" she asked, voice calm but cutting. He shifted, setting the file down with a heavy sigh. They say you attacked Sergeant Coleman. He's in the hospital. Critical. Nia's brow furrowed. Coleman? I haven't seen him in months. What the hell are you talking about? Brady opened the file, sliding a photo across the table. Grainy, dark, but unmistakable, it showed a woman, her build like Nia's, standing over a man in uniform. Blood pooled beneath him. That's not me. Brady leaned forward. Witnesses say otherwise. And then there's the video. He tapped a remote. A screen lit up on the wall. Footage played, choppy, like it was taken from a phone. It showed a scuffle, rapid movement, then a face, blurred but familiar. Her face. Or so it seemed. Nia's heart pounded now. This is edited. This is wrong. Where did this come from? Brady shook his head. It's everywhere. News outlets, social media. You're trending, Nia. She stared at the screen, mind racing. Someone was setting her up. Someone who knew her, who knew exactly how to destroy her. I want my lawyer. Brady stood, closing the file. You'll get one, but it won't help. Across town, in a dim apartment filled with monitors and cables, Miles Carter watched the footage on multiple screens. His fingers flew across the keyboard, dissecting the data. Something's off, he muttered. Way off. He zoomed in on the frame where Nia's face appeared, isolating pixels, scanning for anomalies. His phone buzzed. Yeah, they got her. The voice on the other end said, they're holding her at the 6th precinct. Miles cursed under his breath. I'm on it. He leaned back, staring at the screen. Hold on, Nia. The cell was cold. Nia sat on the thin mattress, Diesel's absence like a weight on her chest. She had no idea where they'd taken him. The thought made her stomach twist. Footsteps echoed down the hallway. The door clanked open. A man in a suit stepped inside, face smooth, practiced. I'm Detective Langston. I'll be handling your case. She didn't respond. He smiled, fake and thin. I know you're confused. Scared. But we can work something out. Nia laughed, humorless. Work something out? You got the wrong woman. Langston pulled out a folder, flipping it open. Your military record's impressive. Tours in Afghanistan, Iraq. Commendations. But also a few red flags. He slid a sheet toward her. It was her discharge papers. Honorable, but with notes. PTSD concerns. Aggressive behavior. You're not well, Nia. Maybe this was just a breakdown. You lost control. Her eyes narrowed. You're reaching. Langston leaned in. Or maybe this goes deeper. Maybe you were holding a grudge. Coleman was your superior once, wasn't he? A flicker of memory, yelling, a dark room. Fists clenched. I didn't touch Coleman. Langston stood. We'll see. Miles parked 2 blocks from the precinct. He knew better than to walk in the front door. Instead, he slipped through the alley, scaling the side of the building to the 2nd floor. He worked fast, plugging a small device into the external network port. Back in his van, screens lit up. Let's see what you're hiding. He bypassed the precinct's firewall, digging into internal files. Video logs, case files, raw footage. There it was, the original video. He played it. The timestamps didn't match the ones shown to the public. The metadata was altered. Someone had cut frames, inserted glitches, distorted Nia's face. Bingo. But before he could extract the files, a red alert flashed. Damn it. They detected him. Miles yanked the device free and bolted, heart racing. Inside her cell, Nia paced. She wasn't just going to sit and wait. She needed a plan. Then, her name echoed down the hallway. Roberts, you've got a visitor. They led her to a small room, metal table, plastic chairs. She froze. Sitting there, smug, was Captain Avery Monroe. Well, Nia Roberts. Long time. Her fists clenched. You. Monroe had been her CO. A man who played both sides, always smiling, always dirty. What are you doing here? I wanted to see it myself. The fall of a hero. I didn't do this. Monroe leaned back. Doesn't matter. The world believes you did. Nia's mind spun. If Monroe was here, he was involved. And now it was war. The buzz of the fluorescent light in her cell was relentless. A dull hum that drilled into Nia's skull. Her hands rested on her knees, fists clenched, as she stared at the wall. Her mind replayed Monroe's threat, looping like a broken tape. "You're not walking out of here unless it's in cuffs or a body bag." She inhaled deeply, counting her breaths, feeling the tension coil tighter with each second. The walls felt like they were closing in, squeezing her. She wasn't going to die here. Not like this. From her bunk, she eyed the metal frame. In another life, it would have been a place to rest. Now it was a tool. She knelt, fingers probing the underside, and found the loose coil of wire she'd noticed earlier. She worked it free, careful not to make a sound. The crude pick gleamed under the harsh light. Nia moved to the cell door, crouching beside the lock. She wasn't just ex-military. She was special forces, trained in escape and evasion. But training was theory. This was life or death. Her fingers were steady as she inserted the wire, feeling for the tumblers. The guard's footsteps echoed down the corridor, each step a countdown. Sweat trickled down her spine. Click. The lock gave way. The door didn't swing open, it creaked. Slowly, she slid through the gap, heart pounding in her throat. The corridor was dim, silent except for the hum of the lights and the distant sound of laughter from the break room. She moved like a shadow, hugging the wall. Down the hall, a guard leaned in his chair, scrolling through his phone. Nia approached silently, each step calculated. In one fluid motion, she struck, her arm wrapped around his throat, cutting off his breath before he could react. He struggled, eyes wide, but she tightened her grip until he went limp. She eased him down, stripping off his uniform. The hat was too tight, the boots a size too large, but it would do. With her head low and pace casual, she walked down the corridor. She passed two guards, they nodded. She nodded back, hiding her face beneath the brim. At the security desk, another guard glanced up. Shift change. Nia nodded, forcing a tight smile. Yup, he shrugged, turning back to the monitors. Her hand hovered near her sidearm, just in case. The front doors loomed ahead. Freedom. Her pulse quickened. She pushed the door open, stepping into the night air. The cool wind hit her like a slap, but it felt good, real. She didn't stop walking. Not until she rounded the corner and disappeared into the maze of alleyways. Only then did she let out a shaky breath, adrenaline coursing through her veins like fire. She was out, but she wasn't safe. The city breathed under a blanket of darkness. Nia's boots pounded the pavement, her breath ragged as she slipped through the shadows. Sirens wailed in the distance. She didn't need to guess. They knew she was gone, and they'd come for her. She ducked into an alley, pressing her back against the cold brick wall. Her mind raced. She needed to disappear, blend in, but with her face splashed across every screen as a dangerous fugitive. There was nowhere safe. Her fingers trembled as she pulled the stolen phone from the guard's pocket. It was locked. She cursed under her breath. A flicker of memory, an old contact, Marcus, her former squad mate, now a ghost in the tech world. If anyone could help her, it was him. She moved, sticking to the back streets, head down. Her military instincts kicked in. Avoid open spaces. Always check your six. She needed a new identity, new clothes, a new plan. At a rundown corner store, she grabbed a hoodie, stuffing it under her shirt before tossing a crumpled bill onto the counter. The clerk didn't look up. People like him didn't ask questions. Outside, she found a public phone, one of the few still standing. She dialed from memory. 3 rings. Yeah, the voice was rough, cautious. "It's me," she said, eyes darting. "I need help." A pause. Then, "Meet me at the docks. Midnight." The line went dead. Nia pulled the hoodie over her head and melted back into the city's veins, the hunt just beginning. The dock smelled of oil and salt, the fog rolling in off the water like a shroud. Nia stood in the shadows, eyes scanning every movement. Her hand rested on the cold steel of the guard's pistol, tucked into her waistband. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate. Marcus emerged, older, leaner, but still sharp. His eyes locked onto hers. A flicker of recognition and something else, worry. "Damn, Nia," he muttered, pulling her into a quick hug. "You've stirred up a hornet's nest." "They framed me," she said. "I need to prove it." He nodded. I know. I've been watching. The video, it's been doctored. Sloppy work, but enough to fool the public. You can trace it? I can do better. I can find who ordered it. A flash of hope sparked in her chest. But they're watching everything, he warned. You're public enemy number one. Nia's jaw clenched. Then we stay in the shadows. Marcus' safe house was a bunker of cables, screens, and humming servers. The room buzzed with data, the walls covered in maps and surveillance feeds. Nia paced, nerves raw. What's the plan? Marcus cracked his knuckles. First, we dig. Whoever edited that footage left traces, metadata, signatures. I can track them. Hours passed, the air thick with tension. Marcus' fingers danced across the keyboard, eyes locked on the screens. Got something, he finally said. The file was modified by someone inside. A tech specialist named Roland Briggs. Works for Monroe. Nia's blood boiled. Monroe. He was pulling the strings. Where is he? Marcus pulled up a map. City Archives building. Midnight shift. Nia nodded, fire in her eyes. Then we pay him a visit. The Archives building loomed, dark and quiet. Nia moved like a wraith, bypassing the alarms Marcus had disabled. Inside, the flicker of a computer screen. Roland sat alone, typing away. Nia crept up behind him, pressing the pistol to his temple. Hands up. He froze, trembling. Turn around, she ordered. He obeyed, eyes wide with fear. You doctored the footage. I was just following orders. Monroe, he nodded frantically. He said you had to be stopped, that you knew things. What things? Roland swallowed. About the task force. About what happened in Kandahar. Nia's breath caught. Kandahar. Her past was coming back to haunt her. I need the original footage, she demanded. Roland's fingers shook as he pulled up the files. He handed her a drive. This has everything. Nia grabbed it. If you talk, you live. He nodded. I'll help. Back at the safe house, Marcus analyzed the drive. This is gold, he said. This proves they set you up. We need to go public. Marcus shook his head. Not yet. Too dangerous. We need an insider, someone with power. Nia thought of Detective Sarah Whitaker, the one cop who'd once had her back. I know someone, she said. Detective Sarah Whitaker's apartment was quiet, the city lights casting shadows on the walls. Nia knocked, tense. The door opened, Sarah's eyes widening. Nia, I need your help. Sarah stepped aside, letting her in. You're all over the news. They say you killed that officer. I didn't. Monroe is behind it. Sarah folded her arms. You have proof. Nia handed her the drive. This, and more. Sarah sat, plugging it into her laptop. As she watched, her face hardened. Jesus. This is bad. I need you, Sarah. You're the only one left I can trust. Sarah nodded slowly. All right, but if we do this, there's no going back. I never planned to. Sarah paced the room, still reeling from the evidence. Monroe's got friends in high places. If we go at him head on, he'll crush us. Nia leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Then we don't go head on. We hit him where he's weakest. Sarah glanced at the drive again. This footage, it's not just about you. It's about the whole task force. What they did overseas, what they've been covering up here. Nia's heart pounded. Then we exposed them all. Sarah sighed, rubbing her temples. We need more. Something irrefutable. They'll say this was stolen, tampered with. Marcus stepped forward. There's a server at Police HQ. If we get access, I can pull internal comms, logs, everything that ties Monroe to this. Nia's eyes narrowed. Then that's our next move. The trio gathered around a blueprint of the precinct. Marcus pointed to a side entrance. Graveyard shift. Security's lighter, but the server room's still a fortress. Sarah nodded. I can get you in. A guard rotation switches at 2 a.m. That's our window. Nia checked her gear. What about extraction? Marcus smirked. Leave that to me. They moved in silence, each weighed by the risk. Nia felt the old adrenaline surge, calm, focused. She had a mission. The night was thick with tension. Sarah walked Nia through the back entrance, badge in hand. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed. "Keep your head down," Sarah whispered. "Third floor." Nia moved fast, slipping past open doors and sleepy officers. At the server room, Marcus' voice crackled in her earpiece. "Code's 5479. Go." The door clicked open. Inside, cold air blasted from the servers. Nia inserted the drive, waiting as files streamed. Suddenly, footsteps. A guard. Nia ducked behind a rack, heart pounding. "Who's in here?" the guard called. The download finished. Nia slipped out, silent as a shadow. Marcus was waiting in a stolen car, engine running. Nia jumped in, breathless. "We got it," she said. "Good," Marcus grinned. "Let's make it count." But as they sped away, flashing lights appeared behind them. "Shit," Marcus cursed. "They're on us." Nia grabbed the wheel. "Lose them." A high-speed chase ensued, weaving through the city. Nia's hands were steady, her mind clear. They ditched the car in an alley, disappearing into the night. Back at the safe house, Marcus dove into the data. Emails, call logs. "Monroe's fingerprints are all over this," he said. He ordered the hit, covered up the footage, even paid off the DA. Sarah sat in stunned silence. "We have to go public." Nia shook her head. "Not yet. We leak this now, they'll spin it. We need a platform, something they can't control." Sarah's eyes lit up. "I know a journalist. Someone fearless." The meeting was set in an abandoned warehouse. The journalist, Alana Reyes, a firebrand known for exposing corruption, sat across from them. "You're asking me to take on the entire system," Alana said, scanning the files. "You want the truth?" Nia asked. "This is it." Alana leaned back. "All right, but we need more. A face. A story. You." Nia hesitated. "They'll come after me harder." Alana nodded. "But they'll hear you." Nia stared at the camera lens, her face hard but honest. "My name is Nia Harris. I served this country. I believed in justice, but justice betrayed me." Alana filmed every word, the weight of truth sinking in. "They tried to silence me, but I won't let them." When the video went live, the city erupted. Protests, debates, the media, and chaos. Monroe issued a statement, denial, as expected. But now, the people were watching. Monroe's retaliation was swift. A raid on Marcus' safe house forced them to flee. Sarah was suspended. Alana received death threats. "They're scared," Nia said, watching the city burn with questions. Marcus nodded. "Good, but they're also dangerous." They regrouped in an abandoned subway station, plotting their next move. "Monroe has a private server," Marcus said. "The real dirt's there." Nia's eyes blazed. "Then we burn it down." The private server was housed in Monroe's estate, fortified, impenetrable. But Nia had faced worse. Dressed in stolen security uniforms, she and Marcus slipped through the gates. Inside, alarms loomed, but so did the prize. They reached the server room, bypassing locks, dodging cameras. "This is it," Marcus whispered, plugging in his drive. Nia stood guard, heart pounding. Suddenly, Monroe. "Going somewhere," he sneered, gun drawn. Nia didn't flinch. "It's over, Monroe." He laughed. "You think this changes anything? They need me. They fear you." Marcus' voice cut in. "Got it. We're done." Nia's hand moved fast, disarming Monroe in a blur. "No, they fear the truth." She left him cuffed, the data secured. Outside, sirens wailed, but this time, they weren't for her. The footage of Monroe, cuffed and humiliated, spread like wildfire. Alana's broadcast went viral. Public outcry escalated, but so did danger. Nia, Sarah, and Marcus went underground again. Monroe's allies and law enforcement weren't done. Sarah slammed the latest news on the table. Internal Affairs cleared Monroe's top lieutenants. They're regrouping. Nia clenched her fists. "We need to take this higher." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "The governor?" Nia nodded. "It's time to turn the heat up." Governor Elena Marks was a tough political figure. known for walking the line between power and justice. Getting to her was risky. Sarah arranged a meeting through back channels. In a dimly lit office, Governor Marks listened, skeptical. "You expect me to believe this isn't a setup?" Marks asked, arms folded. Nia laid the files on the desk. "Believe whatever you want. Just know that when this explodes, you'll either be on the right side or buried with them." Mark studied the evidence, her expression hardening. "I'll make inquiries, but tread carefully." Back at their hideout, tension simmered. Sarah grew distant. Marcus pulled Nia aside. "She's acting strange." Her calms were tapped. Nia's stomach sank. "You think she turned?" Before they could act, a squad raided the building. Bullets flew, glass shattered. Nia and Marcus fought their way out, but Sarah was gone. Captured footage showed Sarah meeting with Monroe's second-in-command. "She gave us up," Marcus said, bitterness in his voice. Nia refused to believe it. "She's being forced. We find her, we get the truth." The trail led them to an old warehouse on the city's edge. Inside, Sarah stood, handcuffed, bruised. "It was a setup," she rasped. "They threatened my family." Nia freed her, heart pounding. "Why didn't you tell us?" "I tried. They intercepted everything." Marcus scanned the room. "We have to move. Now." But sirens wailed. They were surrounded. Trapped, Nia crafted a plan. Using smoke grenades and knowledge of the warehouse's structure, they created a diversion. Amidst chaos, they fled through underground tunnels, emerging blocks away. Sarah collapsed. "I'm sorry. I thought I could handle it." Nia helped her up. "We don't have time for guilt. We head back." Marcus decoded more files. Monroe wasn't the end. There was a network. Politicians, CEOs, military brass. "They've been running this for years," Marcus said. "This is systemic." Nia's resolve hardened. "Then we bring the whole system down." Alana agreed to air the findings, but warned of the backlash. The broadcast was explosive. Names, evidence, and testimonies filled the airwaves. Protests surged. The city teetered on the edge. Governor Marks, under pressure, announced a full investigation. But Monroe's loyalists plotted revenge. Marcus was ambushed, barely surviving a car bomb. The message was clear: stop or die. At his hospital bed, Nia sat silently. Sarah stood nearby. "They won't stop." "No," Nia whispered. "But neither will I." She vowed to finish this, for Marcus, for truth. Nia and Sarah targeted the final piece. A data center storing the network's deepest secrets. Breaking in meant risking everything. Under cover of night, they infiltrated. Security was tight. Every step was a battle. But at the core, Nia found it. The key to dismantling the empire. As alarms blared, she smiled grimly. "Let's end this." The city was a different place now. Monroe's empire was fractured, but his shadow still loomed. Nia sat alone on a rooftop, watching protesters chant her name. It felt surreal, once hunted, now hailed. Sarah joined her. "You should speak to them." Nia shook her head. "I'm no leader. You're what they believe in." Nia closed her eyes. Belief gets people killed. But inside, something shifted. She wasn't running anymore. Governor Marks announced sweeping reforms. Corrupt officials resigned or were arrested. Yet, Monroe remained elusive. At a press conference, Marks declared, "Justice is not a moment, it's a movement." But Nia wasn't convinced. Sarah burst into their safe house. "He's resurfaced." A private compound outside the city. Nia's fists clenched. Then it's time. The compound was heavily fortified, Monroe's last stand. Nia and Sarah scoped it out. "Too many guards," Sarah whispered. Nia nodded. "We don't need to take them all. Just him." They waited until nightfall. Under cover of darkness, Nia slipped through, silent as death. Inside, Monroe sat at a grand desk. "I knew you'd come." Nia raised her weapon. "This ends now." He smiled. "You can't kill the system." Nia fired. Monroe's bodyguards stormed in. Nia ran, bullets ricocheting. Sarah hacked gates remotely, guiding her out. Explosions rocked the compound. Nia leapt over walls, landing hard but alive. They regrouped at dawn. "It's done," Nia breathed. But the news said otherwise. Monroe's death was ruled a suicide. They had erased her again. Public outrage surged. How does he get to die easy? Protesters shouted. Alana heired a piece. Nia Monroe, vigilante or justice? Nia watched in silence. Sarah asked, "What now?" Nia replied, "We show them everything." They leaked all files, unedited, raw. No more filters. No more lies. With Monroe gone, new players emerged, hungry, ruthless. One, Senator Harlan Dent, blamed Nia for the unrest. "She's a criminal." Governor Marks wavered. Nia met with Alana. "He's worse than Monroe. He wants control." Alana nodded. "Then let's take him down." But this enemy played in daylight, not shadows. Dent pushed new laws, safety reforms that targeted protesters. Sarah hacked into his campaign files. He's backed by the same corporations Monroe used. Nia leaned in. "Then we expose him." But Dent anticipated them. He released doctored footage, Nia killing an innocent man. The media turned. Nia's face plastered screens. Wanted for murder. Sarah panicked. "They'll come for us." Nia remained calm. "Let them." She turned to Alana. "Find the original footage." Days passed. Hiding, waiting. Finally, Alana called. "Got it." The truth. Monroe's lieutenant had staged the scene. Alana aired the real footage. Public opinion swung again. Dent's credibility cracked. Governor Marks, pressured, paused Dent's reforms. Nia stood before the cameras, for the first time. "You've seen what they do. Now fight with me." Her voice shook the city. Protests turned into an organized movement. Nia became a reluctant symbol. Hope in a city of shadows. Sarah built a network, connecting activists and whistleblowers. Governor Marks launched a commission, naming Nia as an advisor. At the edge of the city, Nia visited Marcus's grave. We're still here. She walked away, not in hiding, but in the open. The fight wasn't over, but for the first time, they had a chance. The city was caught in a fragile pause. For the first time in weeks, the streets were quiet, but not with peace. The silence felt like the breath held before a storm, the tension thick in the air, coiled tight and waiting to snap. Nia stood at the window of their safe house, eyes fixed on the skyline. The familiar hum of helicopters overhead was gone, but she knew better than to believe the fight was over. She had survived long enough to recognize the tactics of power. When brute force didn't work, strategy did. Sarah entered the room, holding a tablet. He's moving again. Nia turned, her face already set in expectation. Sarah laid the device on the table, and with a flick, Dent's face filled the screen. He was addressing the nation from a high-polished podium, an American flag draped behind him like a cloak of false authority. "We cannot allow this city to descend into chaos," Dent declared, his voice calm but sharp. "I have petitioned for federal intervention to restore law and order. This is about keeping our communities safe." Nia's jaw clenched. "He's bringing in the feds." Sarah nodded grimly. "Troops are mobilizing. Tanks. Drones. They're planning to lock this place down." The door opened, and Governor Marks entered. She looked older now, more worn. Her hands trembled slightly as she pulled off her coat. "He's bypassing me completely. They're treating me like a figurehead." "You were warned," Nia said coldly. "I didn't ask for this." Mark shot back. "I didn't know." "You didn't want to know." Sarah stepped between them. "This isn't helping. We need options. Fast." Mark sank into a chair. "There's talk of martial law. Curfews. Mass arrests." Nia crossed her arms, pacing. "He wants a war." "No," Sarah corrected. "He wants a massacre, one he can justify." Silence settled over the room. Nia could hear her own heartbeat, steady but heavy. She looked at the map spread across the table. Protest sites, choke points, surveillance zones. She'd fought wars before, but this was different. This wasn't about territory. It was about truth. "We need to shift the narrative," Nia said finally. Sarah raised an eyebrow. "How?" "He owns every screen." Nia shook her head. "Not all of them. People are watching, waiting. They know something's wrong. We just have to give them something to believe in." Marks looked up. "A march." Nia hesitated. "A peaceful one," Marks pressed. "Massive. Visible. If you can get enough people in one place, Dent can't hide behind his lies." "He'll send troops," Sarah warned. "Let him," Nia replied. "If he turns on unarmed citizens, the world will see him for what he is." Sarah sighed. "You're asking for a miracle." "No," Nia said. "I'm asking for courage." That night, Nia recorded a message. Not a rallying cry, but a truth spoken plainly. "I was one of them. I believed in the system. I served it, protected it, even killed for it. But it betrayed me, and it's betraying you too. We stand now not just for justice, but for our lives, our future. Meet me. Stand with me. Let's show them we are not afraid." The message spread like wildfire, shared in hushed whispers and bold declarations. The date was set. Dawn was still hours away, but Nia couldn't sleep. She sat on the edge of her bed, loading her gear, not for war, but for protection. A bulletproof vest, a comms device, no weapons. This wasn't that kind of battle. Sarah joined her, handing over a small patch. "You'll want this." Nia took it, fingers brushing over the old insignia, the one from her unit, long disbanded. She nodded. "Thanks. You sure about this?" "No," Nia said, standing. "But I'm doing it anyway." They left as the first light broke the horizon, walking into a city holding its breath. The city was waking, but not to the usual noise of commerce and chaos. It stirred instead to a rhythm older, deeper, the sound of footsteps. Thousands of them. Quiet at first, but growing, converging. From street corners, alleys, high-rises, and battered row houses, people emerged. Some carried signs, others wore plain clothes. Some had faces masked by fear, others revealed their anger, their hope. But they all moved in one direction, toward the heart of the city. Nia stood atop the steps of City Hall, her eyes scanning the growing crowd. It was still early, but already the square was filling. She could see mothers with children, old men leaning on canes, students with backpacks slung low, nurses in scrubs, workers in uniforms. The city had come alive, and it was speaking without words. Beside her, Sarah adjusted the portable comms array they'd rigged. Signals clean. We can stream. But Dent's pushing interference. We might not hold the feed for long. We won't need long, Nia replied, pulling her hood up. Just enough to show the world. The sun rose slowly, casting golden light across the rooftops. Nia felt the weight of it, the warmth like a distant memory. She'd spent so long in shadows, moving from place to place, fighting a battle she never asked for. Now, for the first time, she stood in full view, not as a fugitive, but as a symbol. Governor Marks is on her way, Sarah said, tapping her earpiece. She's bringing a delegation from the council. Media outlets are trying to get through the roadblocks, but Dent's holding the lines tight. Nia nodded. Then we make this count. By mid-morning, the square was packed. The hum of voices rose, not in chaos, but unity. People passed bottles of water, shared food, exchanged stories. There were no chants, no shouts, just presence. A presence Dent could no longer ignore. Suddenly, the low rumble of engines broke the calm. Military trucks appeared at the far end of the boulevard, flanked by armored personnel carriers. Soldiers disembarked, forming a line, their faces hidden behind visors. Sarah cursed. He's here. Nia stepped forward, her heart steady. She raised her hand, motioning for calm. The crowd, watching, waiting, quieted. A loudspeaker crackled. This is an unlawful gathering. Disperse immediately, or force will be used. Nia didn't move. We are unarmed. We are peaceful. We have the right to be here. The soldiers held their ground. Then another voice cut through the air, live on every frequency they could reach. This is Governor Evelyn Marks. These citizens are under my protection, and they are exercising their lawful right to assemble. The crowd erupted in cheers, a surge of hope. Nia glanced at Sarah, who was frantically stabilizing the signal. Hold it, hold it. But then, over the line of soldiers, another figure emerged. Dent, dressed in civilian clothes, but with the authority of command etched in every line of his face. You're making a mistake, Governor, he said, stepping forward. This ends now. Marks walked to meet him, defiance burning in her eyes. You don't have the power anymore, Dent. Oh, but I do. He smiled coldly, raising a hand. The soldiers leveled their weapons. Screams echoed. Nia stepped between them. No, the word wasn't shouted, but it struck like thunder. She stood tall, arms raised. You want to kill us? Do it. But the world is watching. They know now. Sarah's feed flared, streaming Dent's face live as his hand trembled. For a moment, the world balanced on the edge of violence. Then, from the crowd, a child's voice rang out. Don't shoot. The soldiers hesitated. Nia saw it, the crack in their resolve. She took a step forward. You're not machines. You're people. Don't do this. One by one, the soldiers lowered their rifles. Dent's face twisted in rage. You fools. She's a criminal. But no one listened. The crowd surged forward, not in aggression, but in solidarity. They formed a human shield, standing shoulder to shoulder. Dent stepped back, eyes wild. You've lost, Nia said, her voice calm. Dent's retreat was subtle at first, a step back, a flicker of hesitation. But in the eyes of the people gathered, it was the collapse of a titan. He was no longer the untouchable force behind the curtain. He was a man exposed, vulnerable, grasping at power that was slipping through his fingers. The soldiers stood frozen, their weapons now resting against their sides, uncertain. They looked to one another, then to the crowd. For orders, for reason, for humanity. Dent's voice, once a booming command that could silence rooms, now cracked with desperation. Arrest her. Do your duty. But no one moved. Governor Marks stood firm, her presence as unyielding as the rising sun behind her. Your authority is done, Dent. These men answer to the law, not to you. Stand down. A moment stretched, heavy and tense. Then, as if some silent chain had snapped, The first soldier turned away. Then another. The line dissolved like mist, and the path to the heart of the square cleared. Sarah ran up the steps, breathless, but grinning. The feed held. The whole world saw that. Every single second. Nia's chest rose and fell, the weight of the standoff beginning to fade, replaced by something new, something fierce and alive. Hope. Dent wasn't finished. His eyes darted to the side, where a black SUV idled, engine humming. "This isn't over," he hissed, backing away. Nia moved instinctively, but Dent was already bolting, pushing through the dispersing soldiers. He reached the SUV, yanked the door open, and froze. Inside, Detective Cole sat in the driver's seat, his badge glinting in the sunlight. Behind him, more officers, real ones, emerged, blocking Dent's path. "You're under arrest for conspiracy, abuse of power, obstruction of justice." Cole's voice was low, but it carried, resonating like a gavel in an empty courtroom. "And the attempted murder of Nia Dawson." Dent's face contorted, disbelief etched into every line. "You can't." "We just did," Cole cut in. He signaled, and two officers stepped forward, handcuffs ready. Nia approached slowly, eyes locked on Dent's. "You thought you could rewrite the truth, that you could bury me, and no one would care. But they do. They've always cared." For a second, she saw fear. Not just the fear of a man caught, but of a man who had lost everything he believed made him invincible. As the cuffs snapped shut, Dent struggled, shouting, "You'll regret this. All of you." But his words were swallowed by the noise of the crowd, a roar now, not of anger, but of triumph. People surged forward, not to harm, but to witness, to remember. This moment was theirs, carved into history by the choices they made. Later, inside City Hall, Nia stood before a bank of microphones. Reporters jostled for position, their faces eager, pens ready. Cameras rolled, broadcasting live. She didn't have a speech. She didn't need one. "I never wanted to be here," she began, voice steady. "I never wanted to be a symbol or a headline. I just wanted to live. But this system, this lie, forced me to fight." She paused, scanning the crowd. They said I was dangerous, that I was the enemy. But I wasn't alone. You all stood with me. Not just for me, but for the truth. For every person silenced. For every life stolen. A hush fell. This isn't the end. Dent is gone, but the system he fed on is still here. We have to change it. Together. Applause rose, growing, thunderous. Sarah joined her at the podium, smiling through tears. Cole too, his expression one of quiet resolve. "This is our first light," Nia said. "Let's make sure it doesn't fade." The morning after Dent's arrest was a strange one for Nia. The city hadn't changed overnight. The same buildings loomed, the same traffic rumbled, but everything felt different, as if a storm had passed, leaving the streets quieter, softer. The fight wasn't over, but for the first time in months, she could breathe. She sat on the steps of her old apartment building, watching the sunrise paint the sky in gold and amber. The air was cool, the kind that promised a new beginning. Sarah sat beside her, legs stretched out, sipping coffee from a battered thermos. "You didn't sleep," Sarah said, not as a question, but a quiet observation. Nia shook her head. "Didn't want to. Not yet." They sat in silence, the kind that only old friends could share without discomfort. The city stirred around them, distant sirens, the hum of life resuming, but they held the stillness a moment longer. "Did you ever think it would end like this?" Sarah asked, glancing over. Nia let out a soft laugh. "Honestly, I didn't think I'd survive long enough to find out." Sarah's smile was faint, touched with sadness. "But you did." "I did." Nia turned the thought over in her mind, still unsure if it felt real. Dent was in custody. The files were public. The people had seen everything. Yet there was no parade, no cheers echoing through the streets. Just quiet resolve. And maybe that was better. Her phone buzzed on the step beside her. A message from Governor Marks. "The task force meets at 10 a.m. We need your voice." Nia exhaled. The task force, the beginning of something bigger. Not just exposing the rot, but digging it out, root and stem. "You going?" Sarah asked, already knowing the answer. Yeah, I have to. City Hall was a flurry of activity, but not the frantic, panic kind. This was purpose-driven, focused. Nia walked through the halls with her head high, past aides and officers who nodded, some stopping to thank her, others just watching with silent respect. Governor Marks met her outside the council chamber, dressed in her signature navy suit, clipboard in hand. Glad you came. Wouldn't miss it. Inside, a dozen faces turned as they entered, officials, activists, legal experts, people chosen to dismantle the very system Dent had abused. Marks took the floor first. We're here because the people demanded it. The evidence is clear. Corruption, abuse, cover-ups. But we're not just here to talk. We're here to act. Nia sat quietly, listening. The discussions ranged from policy reforms to civilian oversight boards, from retraining officers to legislative changes. It was overwhelming. So many pieces, so much to fix. Then Marks looked to her. Ms. Dawson, you've lived this. What do you believe needs to change? Nia stood, the weight of the room settling on her shoulders. It's not just about rules, she said slowly, or new faces in old positions. It's about trust. We need to rebuild it, from the ground up. Murmurs of agreement rippled, and that starts with listening. To the people who've been silenced, dismissed. We need to hear them, believe them. A pause, and we need to make sure what happened to me, what's happened to so many, never happens again. She sat down, heart pounding, but the silence was respectful, reflective. Marks nodded. Thank you, Ms. Dawson. After the meeting, Nia lingered in the hallway, drained but determined. Cole approached, files in hand. You did good in there. Thanks. He hesitated, then handed her one of the folders. Something you should see. Inside were names, dozens, victims of the same system, some still fighting, some long gone. These cases, they're connected. Dent wasn't the only one. Nia's breath caught. How many? Too many. She closed the file slowly, fire rekindling in her chest. Then we've got more work to do. Cole nodded. I'll be here. So would Sarah, and Governor Marks, and maybe, just maybe, the city itself. Nia stepped outside into the bright midday sun, the noise of the city rising around her like a promise. She wasn't done. Not by a long shot. The city didn't sleep for long. As news of Dent's arrest spread and the task force made its first public statements, something stirred in the underbelly of the system, something that had been lying in wait. By midweek, headlines had shifted from celebration to skepticism. Power vacuum or justice. City's future in limbo. Sources claim more tapes exist. Who's next? Nia read them all in Sarah's apartment, the flickering light of the TV casting long shadows across the room. Sarah was at her laptop, fingers dancing over keys, digging into forums, leaks, and chatter from the deep web. This was never just Dent, Sarah said without looking up. You know that, right? Nia nodded, eyes locked on a news anchor talking about instability in leadership and police morale at an all-time low. Cut off one head, Nia murmured. Sarah looked up, and two more grow back. The Hydra effect. Dent's arrest had shaken the foundations, but the cracks revealed other players, lieutenants, partners, ghosts from the past still pulling strings. Sarah clicked on a file she decrypted just hours ago. A list. Not names this time, but transactions, meetings, coded messages. Most linked to Dent, but some others. Look at this, she said, turning the screen. Nia leaned over. Who's JR? Jonathan Reed, Deputy Commissioner. The name sent a chill down her spine. Reed had been Dent's right hand for years. Silent, obedient. Nia hadn't even thought of him. But there he was, connected to several black budget accounts, listed in the same files as covert operations Dent had run. He's been quiet, Sarah continued. Too quiet. While Dent burned, Reed vanished. No statements. No press. Nothing. Nia stood, heart pounding. He's not going to go down without a fight. Sarah's eyes darkened. We need to find him. At City Hall, Governor Marks was in a war room of sorts, surrounded by aides and law enforcement officials, not tainted by Dent's regime. Maps, documents, digital boards. The cleanup had begun, but it was messy. Nia entered, folder in hand. "We've got a problem," she said, handing Marks the list Sarah had found. Mark scanned it, her brow furrowing. "Read, he's still out there, and he's still moving money." Cole appeared behind them, eyes narrowing as he caught the name. "I've been hearing rumors. Officers still loyal to Dent, they're regrouping." "Planning something?" Marks asked. Nia nodded. "Reed's their rally point. If we don't find him soon, this city's going to explode." That night, Nia and Sarah met Cole at an old warehouse near the docks, one of the locations flagged in Sarah's search. The air was thick with salt and oil, shadows long under broken streetlights. "You sure about this place?" Cole asked, scanning the perimeter. "Signal bounced here yesterday," Sarah replied. Encrypted comms. Could be him. They moved in carefully, Nia at point. The warehouse was silent, save for the creak of old metal. But inside, signs of recent activity, discarded food, burned files, and a map of the city with several points marked in red. Sarah's voice was tight. "This isn't just an escape plan." "No," Nia agreed. "It's an offensive." Cole found a burner phone, still warm. A message flashed on the screen. "Final phase, Operation Vigilant Storm. Launch in 48 hours. "What the hell is that?" Sarah asked. Nia's stomach dropped. A distraction. A show of power. Cole stepped back. "They're going to hit something. Big." Sarah scanned the map. These red points, courthouses, media stations, and, she paused, pointing. City Hall. "They want chaos," Nia whispered. Cole's face hardened. "We've got 2 days." "No," Nia corrected, her mind already racing. "We've got less." The city wasn't ready, and neither were they. But Nia didn't have a choice. She turned to Sarah. "We need to find out everything about Operation Vigilant Storm." Sarah nodded. "I'm on it." To Cole, warn Marks. "Lock down City Hall. And find me everyone willing to fight." Nia looked back at the burning city map, flames licking the edges in her mind. Reed wanted to finish what Dent started, but she wouldn't let him. The storm wasn't coming. It was already here. By dawn, 3 more precincts reported breaches, files stolen, evidence rooms raided, officers either missing or refusing to report for duty. It wasn't random. Each hit was surgical, designed to cripple the city's ability to respond. In the dim light of Sarah's apartment, Nia hunched over a map spread across the table. Red pins marked chaos. Precinct 21, the local news station, a civil rights advocacy office. Reed was tearing at the city's voice, its protectors, its truth-tellers. Sarah's laptop buzzed, pulling Nia from her thoughts. "I've cracked part of the encryption," Sarah said, scrolling through a cascade of coded emails. "Operation Vigilant Storm isn't just about violence, it's about erasure." "Erasure?" Nia asked, tightening her fists. "They're planning to delete digital evidence. Body cam footage, financial trails, testimonies, all of it. By the end of this, no one will remember what Dent did. They'll make it seem like none of this ever happened." Nia's heart pounded. "What's the target?" Sarah hesitated, then turned screen. A blueprint appeared, large, sprawling, fortified. "The Central Data Hub," she said. "All city data backups, servers, mainframes. It's where the city stores everything." Nia stared at it, realization setting in. If they take that down, it's over. Cole arrived an hour later, tension written across his face. "Marks is under heavy guard, but Reed's people are everywhere. I've seen officers I used to trust disappear into unmarked vans." "They've infiltrated," Sarah said. Cole nodded. "And they're faster than us." Nia stood, a fire igniting behind her eyes. "Then we move faster." Sarah pulled up the data hub schematics. "Security's tight. It won't be like the raids we've done before." "We don't have time for careful," Nia replied. "We need to hit it now before they do." Cole looked between them. "We can't do it alone." Nia walked to the window, staring out at the fractured city skyline. "Then we won't." By nightfall, a ragtag team assembled in an abandoned firehouse. Former officers, activists, a few loyal officials from Mark's inner circle. People who had lost friends, jobs, families to dense regime, and weren't afraid to fight. Nia stood before them, her voice steady. They think they can erase the truth, that if they burn the evidence, we'll forget. But we are the evidence. We are the truth, and we will not let them win. She looked around the room, locking eyes with each of them. This isn't just a mission, it's a stand. For every voice they silenced, for every life they tried to erase. Silence, then a single nod from Cole. Let's take back our city. The approach to the central data hub was cloaked in darkness. The city lights flickered uncertainly, as if unsure whether to resist or surrender to the chaos. Nia led the team through alleyways, past barricades, under the cover of the night. Sarah's voice buzzed in her earpiece. You've got 20 minutes before their signal hits the servers. Nia gripped her weapon tighter. Copy. They reached the perimeter. High walls, armed guards, surveillance drones scanning the grounds. Cole signaled the flanking team, who took out the power grid in a coordinated burst. The lights died, and in the confusion, Nia's team breached the gate. Inside, the hum of machines and servers filled the air, punctuated by the sharp barks of Reed's mercenaries. Nia moved like a shadow, dropping 2 guards silently as she advanced. Cole and the others swept the side halls, clearing paths to the mainframe room. 15 minutes, Sarah warned. Reed's en route. Nia reached the central server room, a cathedral of data, blue lights casting an eerie glow. She approached the main console, pulling the drive Sarah had given her. Plug it in, Sarah instructed. It'll block their override codes. As Nia inserted the drive, alarms blared. They're here, Cole radioed. Gunfire erupted outside, the walls shaking with the force of the fight. Nia gritted her teeth, watching the progress bar crawl. Come on, she whispered. Suddenly, a voice behind her. You're too late. Reed. Nia turned, eyes narrowing as he stepped into the room, pistol raised. This city doesn't belong to you, he sneered. It never did. Nia raised her weapon. It doesn't belong to you either. The server room felt like the eye of a storm, silent, humming with power, but ready to explode at any second. Reed stood calm, calculated, his pistol trained on Nia's chest. His eyes gleamed with the certainty of a man who believed he'd already won. I told Det you'd be a problem, he said, stepping closer. But he didn't listen. He always underestimated people like you. Nia kept her stance firm, her finger steady on the trigger of her sidearm. The download behind her ticked forward. 82%, 83%. You talk too much, she said. Reed's smirk widened. You think you're fighting for justice? This is bigger than you. Bigger than Dent. Systems don't die with a man. They evolve. He glanced briefly at the console. All I have to do is pull that drive, and your little crusade ends. Nia's mind raced. The team outside was holding, but for how long? Every second she stalled mattered. You're right, she said slowly, lowering her weapon an inch. Reed tilted his head. You're not Dent, she continued. You're worse, because Dent believed in fear. You believe in control. Reed chuckled, circling to her left. Control is survival. You of all people should know that. Not at the cost of truth. Reed lunged. Nia anticipated the move, stepping sideways as his hand grabbed for the console. She drove her elbow into his ribs, spinning to deflect his raised pistol. It fired, a deafening crack, the bullet grazing the wall. She hit back hard. Her fist caught his jaw, but Reed recovered fast, slamming her against the server tower. Sparks flew as metal groaned. The download was at 93%. Reed pinned her, his face inches from hers, breath ragged. You could have been part of this, but now you'll die in it. Nia reached down, pulling the hidden blade from her boot. In one swift motion, she jammed it into his side. Reed gasped, stumbling back, clutching the wound. Nia didn't hesitate. She rushed forward, disarming him, slamming him to the ground. The console beeped, download complete. Nia ripped the drive from the port, shoving it into her vest. She turned back to Reed, who lay coughing, blood pooling beneath him. This isn't over, he spat. No, she agreed. It's just beginning. She left him there, sprinting down the corridor as gunfire roared louder. Outside, Cole was pinned behind a pillar, returning fire as more mercenaries poured in. "Nia, we need that drive now," he barked. She emerged from the smoke, tossing him the device. "Get it to Sarah." Cole caught it, nodding. "Cover me." He bolted toward the exit, dodging bullets, while Nia grabbed a rifle from a fallen guard, mowing down the opposition in his path. "Sarah, he's coming to you." Nia shouted into the comms. "Copy that." Sarah replied, her voice strained but focused. "I'm ready." Nia ducked behind a console as more shots rang out. The building trembled. Reed's team wasn't just here to erase data. They were rigging the place to blow. Cole burst into Sarah's hideout minutes later, breathless, covered in dust. "Tell me you've got this," he panted. Sarah grabbed the drive, plugging it into her terminal. "This is everything. Video proof, dense communications, financial links to Reed, all of it." She paused, staring at the screen. "They set charges. If the data hub goes down, so does every backup server." "Then we go public now," Cole said. "No more waiting." Sarah nodded, fingers flying over the keys. In the data hub, Nia fought her way through the last of the mercenaries, blood streaking her arm, muscles screaming in exhaustion. The building shook again. Reed's failsafe had started. She found herself back in the central chamber, the server towers blinking erratically. Reed's body was gone. Suddenly, her comms buzzed. "Nia alive." Sarah's voice cracked. The world seeing everything. Screens across the city lit up. News feeds interrupted. Social media exploded. Dense crimes, Reed's conspiracy, the truth behind Operation Vigilant Storm, broadcast for all to see. Nia looked up at the flickering lights, but the building wouldn't survive. "Cole," she gasped into the comms. "Get everyone out. I'll finish this." "What?" "No, Nia. Do it." She moved deeper into the server core, searching for the main detonator. Reed wouldn't leave without ensuring total destruction. Behind a panel, she found it. Wires intertwined, timers flashing. She worked fast, recalling every field lesson, every bomb diffused in hostile zones. Hands trembling, she cut one wire, then another. The timer stopped. Silence. Then a soft click behind her. Reed, bleeding, furious, gun raised again. "You don't get to win," he growled. Nia froze, her breath sharp and cold in her chest. The detonator lay deactivated at her feet, but Reed, wounded, blood-soaked, and unrelenting, stood before her with the gun cocked. "After everything," he hissed, his voice rough with pain. "You think you've stopped this?" She didn't answer. Her eyes flicked briefly to the detonator. She had seconds, maybe less. "You're a soldier," Reed continued, stepping closer. "You know this world isn't black and white. It's power, Nia. That's what decides truth." "You're wrong," she said, steadying herself. "Truth is what's left when power fails." Reed's eyes flared. His finger tightened on the trigger. A sharp clang echoed behind him, metal crashing. Reed flinched. It was just enough. Nia lunged. The shot rang out, tearing past her shoulder, burning. She tackled him, both crashing to the ground, struggling over the weapon. He swung wildly, fist catching her jaw. She tasted blood but didn't stop, driving her knee into his ribs. The gun clattered away, spinning across the floor. They both reached for it, hands scrambling. Nia grabbed first. She stood over him, her own chest heaving now, gun aimed at his head. Reed lay there, laughing through the pain. "Go ahead," he gasped. "You kill me, and they'll call you the monster." Nia's hands shook, not from fear, but from the weight of everything. The years of injustice, the lies, the lives destroyed. She looked down at him. "No." His smile faltered. "I'm not like you." She stepped back, keeping the gun raised, but not firing. Sirens blared in the distance, growing louder. Red and blue lights flickered through the shattered windows. The world had seen the truth. Sarah made sure of that. "This is over," Nia said. Reed coughed, trying to push himself up. "Not for me." His hand slipped into his coat. Nia fired. The shot was clean, precise. Reed collapsed, the small detonation trigger in his hand falling lifeless beside him. The tension in Nia's body didn't ease. Not yet. She waited, breathing heavily, the silence pressing in. Minutes later, Cole and Sarah burst through the door, weapons raised, faces pale. "Nia," Cole called. She turned, lowering the gun slowly. "It's done," she said softly. Sarah's eyes darted to Reed's body, then to the deactivated bomb. Relief washed over her, mixed with exhaustion. "The world saw it all," Sarah said, holding up a tablet. The screen was filled with news reports, public outrage, demands for justice. "You did it." Nia looked down at her hands, stained with blood, with the fight for something bigger than herself. "No," she said. "We did." Outside, the dawn broke over the city, casting long shadows over the wreckage of power and corruption. Nia stepped into the light, her body aching, her mind heavy. The crowd had gathered, media swarming, but they parted as she walked past, silent, reverent. She didn't stop. Cole and Sarah followed, standing beside her at the edge of the street. "What now?" Cole asked, his voice quiet. Nia watched as a news anchor spoke from a nearby van, the screen behind her flashing images of Dent, of Reed, of Nia herself. Now, she was more than just a name. She was a symbol. "They'll try to spin it," Sarah said, almost to herself. "They always do." Nia nodded. "Let them try." Her phone buzzed, a message from the DA. Charges dropped. Full exoneration. Public address at noon. She pocketed it. Justice wasn't a destination. It was a fight. And this was just one battle. Nia turned to her friends, her allies, her family now. "We've exposed them," she said, "but others will rise." Cole nodded. "Then we'll be ready." That night, Nia stood on the rooftop of her old apartment, the city alive below her. She didn't feel victorious. She felt awake. The wind stirred her hair as she looked out over the skyline, lights flickering like the pulse of something alive, something worth protecting. Her journey wasn't over, but for the first time, she wasn't running. She was standing, and she wouldn't fall. The city was restless. The morning after Reed's fall, headlines screamed across every screen, every paper, every social feed. Exposed. High-ranking officers tied to corruption and murder plot. Nia Knight, from fugitive to hero. Public demands systemic reform as investigations begin. But beneath the surface, power trembled. Nia stood in front of a mirror, the bruises on her face a raw testament to everything she'd endured. She pulled her jacket tighter, eyes flickering to the television on the wall of her small hotel room. The mayor was speaking, his voice tight. "We will hold every individual accountable," he said, carefully measured. "We stand with the people. We stand for justice." Nia wasn't convinced. A knock on the door pulled her away. Sarah entered, holding a manila folder thick with documents. "They've started raiding offices," Sarah said, dropping the file on the table. "Reed's network runs deeper than anyone thought. There's talk of federal intervention." Nia sat, flipping through the contents. Names, faces, reports, all of them part of the machine that tried to bury her and countless others. "Any word from Dent?" Nia asked. Sarah shook her head. "He's gone underground. But Cole's tracking him. He won't get far." Nia nodded, jaw set. She wasn't finished. By midday, Nia stood before a sea of reporters, city officials, and community leaders. She never wanted the spotlight, but she couldn't walk away. Not now. Microphones crowded in, flashing bulbs, capturing every breath. "Nia, what's next for you?" someone called out. "Do you trust the justice system now?" Another shouted. She raised a hand, silencing them. "I didn't come here to be a symbol," she began, voice clear. "I came here because I wanted to live. Free. Safe. Like every person deserves." Silence. They tried to take that from me. From all of us. And they almost won. She scanned the crowd, locking eyes with familiar faces. Those who doubted her. Those who supported her. Those who were still deciding. But truth doesn't die in the dark. It rises. It fights back. Applause broke out, growing. "I won't stop until this city, this system, faces what it allowed to fester. And neither should you." After the press conference, Nia found herself walking the streets, the world strangely quiet around her. Some people stared. Others nodded with respect. A few looked away. She didn't mind. Her phone buzzed. "Cool, we got something. Meet me at the docks." The docks were nearly deserted, the water still under the gray sky. Cole waited by a black SUV, his face grim. "He's trying to leave," he said, handing her a pair of binoculars. "Private boat. Off the books." Nia peered through them, spotting Dent pacing near a small vessel. "He knows it's over," Cole added. "Not yet," Nia said, already moving. The wind whipped her coat as she approached, every step steady. Dent saw her, his face a mask of fear and arrogance. "You should have stayed hidden," he spat. "You don't get to judge me." "No," she said, stopping a few feet away. "But the people do." He reached for something, his gun. Nia moved faster. A single shot fired. Dent collapsed, wounded but alive. Cole rushed over, cuffing him. "It's done," Cole said. Nia looked down at Dent, shaking her head. "No, it's just beginning." That night, Nia sat with Sarah and Cole on the rooftop. The city was shifting, uncertain. "I've been thinking," Sarah said, sipping coffee. "We could build something from this. A platform. A real movement." Nia considered it. The idea scared her, but also gave her hope. "Maybe," she said, "but not alone." Cole raised his glass. "To truth." Nia smiled, clinking hers against his. "To the fight." In the distance, the city pulsed, alive with possibility. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was leading, and she was ready for whatever came next. The dawn was different, softer, yet more profound. For the first time in weeks, Nia Knight woke without the weight of running, without the press of imminent danger. Yet, something still stirred inside her, a restless energy that refused to be silenced. She sat by the window, the cityscape stretching wide, filled with both scars and hope. Her phone buzzed again. News alerts, messages, invitations. She scrolled past them. The world now knew her name, but fame wasn't what she sought. Justice wasn't a destination. It was a process, a constant battle. And now, her war was no longer in the shadows. It was out in the open. Later that morning, Nia stood before a packed auditorium, invited to speak at a community-led summit on justice reform. The atmosphere was electric. People filled the aisles, spilling out into hallways, hungry for truth, desperate for change. Sarah was there, seated near the front, notebook in hand. Cole stood by the exit, arms folded, ever watchful. As Nia stepped onto the stage, a hush fell over the room. She looked out, not as a fugitive, not even as a hero, but as a voice, a witness, a survivor. She took a breath. "When I was a child," she began steady, "I believed in heroes. I thought they wore uniforms, carried badges, and protected the weak." She paused, the weight of the silence pressing, inviting. "But life taught me something else. Heroes bleed. They break. They get labeled as threats, criminals, enemies, because they refuse to bow to lies." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "I didn't ask for this fight. None of us do. But when it comes to your door, when they try to take your name, your life, what will you do?" She let the question linger. Will you stay silent, or will you stand? A woman near the back stood, fists clenched. "We'll stand." Cheers erupted, growing louder, spreading like wildfire. Nia raised her voice, above the roar. "They fear us. Not because we're violent, but because we see them, because we know what they are." Her eyes burned fierce. "And now they'll see us too. In every courtroom, every street, every screen. We are the fire they cannot put out." Applause thundered. Hours later, Nia sat with Sarah and Cole in a small, quiet cafe. "So what's next?" Sarah asked. Nia looked at her, then at Cole. "We build," she said simply. Sarah nodded, already scribbling ideas. A foundation, a network, advocacy, protection. They had names now, connections, a voice, and Nia was ready to use it. As night fell, Nia returned to the rooftop where it all began. The city stretched before her, wounded but unbowed. Her phone buzzed, another request for an interview. She ignored it, instead opening a blank note. She typed, "To those still fighting, keep going. They will try to silence you, break you, erase you. But truth does not die, and neither will we." She hit send. The message spread. The story of Nia Knight is fiction, but the struggle is real. Injustice thrives in silence, in shadows, in complacency. But when one voice rises, it can ignite many. What would you do if the system turned against you? What will you do now that you know? Stand, speak, act, be the fire that remains.